Hello.
Hi, Adya. There's a bit of confusion, if you like, going on about some things that you've said.
Okay.
You talked about homework that one does.
Ah, yeah. Sometimes I give people homework, yeah.
Yes, where if the mind is busy and then one looks into the body and finds the emotion and then feels it and then
starts to notice the belief structures.
The belief, etc., etc.
Yeah.
That's the one side. Then the other side was your talk just now about meditation.
Right.
Which I experienced as making a lot of sense.
Yes.
It's just a natural thing, just be.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that any attention on anything that's unreal in that way is putting fuel to the fire.
Mm-hmm. One could see it that way.
Making it alive. It's resisting
One could see it that way, yeah.
So...
So it's totally contradictory?
It's totally, for me, totally contradictory. Yeah.
Yes, it appears that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to make it sense for you? I see. Okay. Yes, well, first of all, if letting everything be is it, fine. It's a form of it's a different way of talking about surrender, but it's basically surrender. Great, surrender. Boom. If that can be done, if that is done through and through, totally, absolutely, end of story. The whole thing's done.
Yeah.
And
it's probably not happening because there's. Yeah.
That's where then if there's something else going, if that's not able to happen or it's not happening or something keeps reoccurring that keeps enticing consciousness back into a trance state, then you can look at it. See, the thing is letting everything be is not an end unto itself necessarily. Because if we see letting everything be as an end, then we actually end up sort of in a certain state of total unintelligence. Right? Because it's not letting everything be as it... Jesus didn't let everything be as it is. That's not all he did. That's the foundation from which he moved. The Buddha let everything be, basically. They all basically realized this is heaven right here, right now. Peace is here now already. All of that was realized. And yet, the Buddha spent the rest of his life, 40-something years, talking, teaching the Dharma. Jesus healed people, had his mission, was very engaged, right? And so if one stopped with letting everything be as it is, as an idea, that's why I've said, don't take it as a goal. It's a foundation. Notice that the being that we are, the beingness that we are, is allowing everything to be as it is. But don't make it a goal, because there's more to the picture than that. Right? There is much more to the picture than that. But without that, you can't see the rest of the picture. That life itself is letting everything be as it is. That's what life is doing. It's letting birth happen, life happen, death happens, sickness, old age, it's letting everything happen. And yet, there's also something very active about it, right? Something tremendously engaged. Right? So if there's any belief pattern, there, first of all, as the foundation again, let's say there's some holding or some pattern that keeps going. First of all, everything is totally allowed to be. See, the foundation is still there. The foundation is still there. It must be there to be able to proceed anywhere. If we're resisting the beliefs that we have, or indulge in them, meaning I know my belief is true, then nothing can happen. very little can happen. Anything can happen, but the chances are very unlikely. So if there's a belief, the foundation is you're letting it happen. When you let it happen, you can see it, right? Oh, this feeling actually has a belief. The feeling is allowed to be. Then it reveals the belief. The belief is allowed to be. Then the belief reveals itself even deeper. Oh, this is it. Right? So there's no attempt to get rid of it. So never at any moment is one having the goal to remove it. The goal, if there's a goal at all, is what's true. That's the only goal. What's true? Is this belief real? You see, then you haven't stopped allowing it to be. It's still there. You have to allow it to be to get a good look at it. And you're not trying to get rid of it through asking what's true. You actually want to know if it's true. See the difference? Mm-hmm. If people were to use something like this as a means simply to get rid of things, ultimately it would become a trap in and of itself. The intention is what's true, what's real, what's actually real. You can see that there is no... You feel there's no energy in there that's, I'm trying to remove this or get rid of this or clear this out or purify this. It's, ooh, what's that? What's that thought? Is that thought true? What happens? What's happening right now in my body when I believe? What's it like to believe this thought? So you're investigating. What is it like? There's no avoidance. You're allowing it to be. Now you're really entering it. You're joining it. What is happening? What has happened my whole life through believing this thought? What kind of life has this thought actually generated, you see? So you really look, there's investigation. And then the investigation can go deeper. Is this thought actually true? Is this a true thought? Does this thought really correspond with what is? And when it's seen that a thought, no belief corresponds with what is, but you have to question them to find that out. When you see that it doesn't correspond with what is, it drops by itself. So even then, it's not like you're pushing it away. You're still allowing everything to be. You're just allowing the dropping away to happen too. Do you see? So I understand you're entirely right. You're not the first person that's brought this up. It seems very contradictory to let everything be, and then over on the other side, you're kind of doing something. But this is actually the entire structure of the way I teach, is there is a place for allowing everything to be, because it once can introduce you, and most importantly to your body, even though you are not your body, but everything registers there. So your whole being gets the sense of what's a natural state, a state that's not being dominated by thought is like. And that there is a natural state that actually exists. So that it senses that. But that alone, for most people, isn't going to do it, right? Clearly, meditation, for most people, doesn't lead to awakening. Historically, if we looked at, for every 100 people that meditate every day, how many end up in abiding non-dual realization, the result would have to be piss poor. Right? Not very good. So there's another element that's often necessary, and it's because one can kind of get into sort of letting everything be, I'm letting everything be, man. I'm just letting it be. I'm a total idiot and a moron, and I'm totally deluded, but it's the will of God and letting it be, and, it may bum you out, but I'm letting that be too, and, I'm... You know what I mean? I'm causing chaos all around myself, but I'm letting that be, and you know what I mean? That's a gross over-exaggeration. Well, not actually for some people I've seen. Right? And the same thing can happen in lots of non-dual teachings. There's no doer, there's no doing. That's all true. Yeah, there isn't, but if you understand it in your mind, then it's just an evasion of what is, right? It's just a way of avoiding reality. So it's a foundation, allowing everything to be. But then often there needs to be a spark in there, right? That's the realization. Some element. It's like over here you can just have dry grass, but if there's no spark, it's just dry grass, right? So the inquiry part is, what's true? Is this true? Who am I? What am I really? Is this thought real? What happens when this thought is believed? What's experienced? What's the impact? Right? Because that's all that's happening. You have a thought, you believe it, you're living it out, you're manifesting the thought, right? The thought isn't true, but you can believe it and manifest it. It's a bit, how can I say? See, real inquiry, again, and this is, I emphasize this, I know, like a jackhammer saying the same thing, but it's so important. Inquiry must not be used with the intention of getting rid of something. Otherwise, it's being used by the ego to get rid of things it doesn't want. There's another, deeper intention, which is the love of truth, of what is. The love of it. What's really real? That's a beautiful thing, what's real. That's such a different approach than, how can I get rid of this thought? How can I get rid of this belief? Here, do this, then you can get rid of it, you'll feel better. You can feel the ego in it, can't you? Yeah. I'm just doing this so I can feel better. Everybody wants to feel better. That's fine. But there's something deeper in this, isn't there? There's that love of what's really real. Just to do it to feel better will leave us all continually still trapped in the confines of the ego. The beauty of truth is something different. And see, there's no manipulation in the investigation of truth. There's just what's real. Because unreality, it's not the enemy. Illusion isn't an enemy. There is no enemy. We're not even asking what's real to get rid of what's unreal. It's to actually find out what is real. Not with the intention to get rid of something. That corrupts the whole process. Do you see? Because there's something before that, isn't there?
Yes.
That's much more innocent. That has really no agenda other than the love of what's really real and true. So maybe, do you see how they actually... Yes, there are different approaches. One is, in a sense, very passive. Very, very passive. Because we're taught to be so aggressive. Do this, do this, do this, do this. Here's this technique. Do the technique. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Whatever it is. And it's just sort of this frenetic thing. So, what happens when we stop doing that? Because clearly that doesn't work. Clearly. What happens? And then what arises? How do we meet what arises? How does it met? Because from what I saw, nobody taught me this. I was in the Zen tradition. They don't talk like this. They don't, this isn't what happens. I'm just sitting there all by myself and being really quiet, and all of a sudden, what's going on? What's actually happening? Oh, what happens when I allow everything to be? And then some illusory thought appears, and I notice consciousness, it lets it arise and pass, but then if it arises enough times, it gets curious all by itself. It's not an ego thing, and I notice consciousness is going, ooh, what is that? That's interesting. That belief, such and such shouldn't have happened. Ooh, how does that feel? Rather nasty, actually. But I really believe it, right? Everybody else believes that things shouldn't happen, right? That people shouldn't do certain things. But then I started to notice, wait a minute. But we do things. Who's going to win? My thought of what should have been, or reality? You see what I mean? Reality's already won because it's already happened. My thought about what should have happened is going to lose because it didn't happen. You see what I mean? And it will continue to lose. And so there I would just be sitting, in quiet when I stopped trying to meditate right. You know what I mean? Because as long as I was trying to do it right, this natural intelligence couldn't arise. Because I had a better idea in mind, what I'm supposed to be doing. And I started to let go. And